To the classification of the various epithelia of the body, okay, it is based on the shape and arrangement of the cells, okay. That is, classification of the epithelia is based, okay, or it depends on the morphology or shape and the arrangements of the cells, okay. So based on the shape of cells, the epithelium is classified into squamous cells where the cells are flattened. The height is less, okay, the height of the cell is less compared to the width and the depth, that is the antero-posterior measurement of the cell, and the nucleus, okay, is parallel to the surface of the cell, okay. So when we see the long section of the nucleus, it is parallel to the long section of the cell surface, okay. Now the second one is the cuboidal cell. Here all the three surfaces are almost equal in dimensions, okay. So if you see the height, the width and the depth, okay, the measurements are equal, okay. It looks like a cuboid, so it is called as cuboidal cell, okay. The nucleus is round, okay, and it is placed in the center of the cell. The third type is the columnar cell, where the height of the cell is more compared to the width or the depth of the nucleus, cell, okay. Now the nucleus is oval. You can see the oval nucleus here, and it is present at the basal half of the cell, okay. Now we will see the functions of the cells. Now what are the functions of these cells, okay? Squamous cells, they help in diffusion. Cuboidal cells help in protection and secretion, and columnar cells help in absorption and secretion. Based on the number of layers, okay, we have seen the classification based on the shape, okay. Now based on the number of layers or arrangement of layers, epithelium is classified into simple epithelium, where only one layer of cells, okay, rest on the basement membrane. This is seen in places where diffusion is necessary, okay. Stratified epithelium, there are two or more layers of cells. These are observed in places where protection is required. And the third type is the pseudostratified epithelium, okay. Here all the cells are resting on the basement membrane, okay. When you observe here in this picture, all the cells are resting on the basement membrane. But there are two types of cells. One type of cells are short, which does not reach the surface, okay. They do not reach the surface, okay. They end in between. The second type of group are taller and they reach the surface, okay. So because of this, what happens? The nuclei are present at various levels, okay. Because it is present at various levels, okay, it gives the stratified appearance that the cells are present in different layers, okay. So it is called as pseudostratified epithelium, that means false stratified epithelium. Okay, so coming to the third classification, which is based on the shape and the number of layers combined together, okay. So we have seen the classification based only on the shape of the cell, and the classification based only on the layers of the cells, okay. Now we will see the classification, okay, which is combined together, okay, that is combining the shape and the number of layers, okay. So depending on the depending on the combined shape and number of layers. Okay, it is classified into simple epithelium. Okay, which is further classified. Now, if we take simple epithelium, based on the shape of the cell, it is further classified into simple squamous, simple cuboidal, and columnar epithelium. Now, simple squamous epithelium is composed of a single layer of flattened cells forming a continuous surface. When viewed from side, the nuclei of the cells are flattened. When viewed over the surface, apical surfaces of these cells are irregular in shape. Okay, so you can see it is irregular in shape, but they appear flat in the section passing perpendicular to the surface of the epithelium. The individual cell of the simple squamous epithelium can be compared to that of the off-fried egg or the bull's eye. Okay. Now, if you compare the yellow yolk of the egg, okay, it represents the nucleus of the cell, okay, squamous cell, and the white of the egg, okay, white of the egg is representing the cytoplasm of the cell. Okay, and when we see the nuclei, it produces a bulge. Okay, it produces a bulge on the surface, and the adjacent cells are held together by the junctions. Okay, epithelial junctions called as occluding junctions or tight junctions. So they seal the adjacent cells tightly. Okay, there is a tight sealing between the adjacent cells through these tight junctions or the occluding junctions. So any substance passing through the epithelium has to pass through the cell, okay, and cannot pass in between the cells because of these epithelial junctions. Okay. Now, specific names are applied to simple squamous epithelium in certain locations. Okay, epithelium lining the vascular system is called endothelium. Epithelium lining the walls and covers the contents of the thoracic, pericardial, and abdominal cavities of the body is called mesothelium. Epithelium lining the chambers of heart is called endocardium, and epithelium lining the ventricular system is called ependyma. Okay. Now, to talk about the functions, since the squamous epithelium comprises a single layer of thin cells, small molecules can easily pass through it. The process is called diffusion and filtration. Okay. So, when the gases pass through, we call it as diffusion, and when the fluids are passing through the cell, we call it as filtration. Okay, so here we can see the picture of the section of Bowman's capsule. Okay, this is the picture of the Bowman's capsule of the kidney. Okay, the whole thing. So observe the flat nucleus. Okay, here you can see the flat nucleus, the blue whatever blue things, okay, round or the elongated blue marks on this picture, they represent the nuclei of the cells. Okay, when we see the outer layer of the Bowman's capsule, okay, so we all know Bowman's capsule as two layers, inner layer and the outer layer. The outer layer, you can observe there are flattened nucleus. Okay, so these represents the squamous cells or the flat cells. Okay, so what I want to you people to get oriented. Okay, what I want you to get oriented is epithelium always can be observed along with the organs. Okay, and not as independent entity. It cannot be seen independently anywhere in the body. Coming to the simple cuboidal epithelium, on the surface view of the epithelium, the cells are polygonal in shape, okay, and in side or sectional view, the height and width are almost same, okay, as we discussed previously, okay. The side view gives the appearance where the height, the width and the depth are almost the same, has the same measurement, okay. The nucleus is round, which is present in the center. It is present in thyroid follicles, okay. Small ducts of glands, then the tubules of kidney and surface of the ovaries. The functions are secretion and absorption and also excretion. It helps in protection against toxic substances, mechanical injury, invasion of microorganisms and excessive water loss. Okay, so here the picture shows the section of thyroid gland. Okay, so in thyroid gland we can see the follicles of the thyroid gland. Okay, this is one follicle of the thyroid gland, and when we observe one follicle of thyroid gland, there is round nuclei. Okay, here all these blue round structures represent the nuclei of the cells. Okay, so this is one cell, okay, one cuboidal cell. Here you can see another cuboidal cell, and this is one more. Okay, so you can identify the cells by experience. Okay, when you see more and more of the slides, you can observe and identify these cells. Okay, now you can see those are the cells lining the thyroid follicle. Okay, and as I told you earlier, the epithelium always can be observed along with the organs and not as independent entity. Simple cuboidal epithelium with brush border. Okay, this is a subclassification of cuboidal epithelium based on apical cell uh, surface modification. Only difference between the two, that is simple cuboidal and the cuboidal epithelium with the brush border, is microvilli, which are the projections from the apical surface of the cells. Okay, and the example for this is this type of epithelium is present in the proximal convoluted tubule of the kidney, and the function is absorption. Okay, coming to another classification. Okay, simple columnar epithelium. In the side view of the simple columnar epithelium, the height of the cell is greater than the width, okay, as discussed previously, and the nuclei are oval based on the basal half of the cell. Okay, on the surface view, you can see it is polygonal in shape, and in simple columnar epithelium, there is no surface modifications. Okay, this type of epithelium is present in stomach. Okay, but it is classified into further subclassification based on the surface modifications. Now, the epithelium without surface modifications, which we call as a simple columnar epithelium, okay, is the epithelium which is present in stomach, large intestine. Okay, it secretes mucus and enzymes. Okay, so as told, okay, further, okay, with the surface modification, it is classified as simple ciliated columnar epithelium with brush border, and columnar epithelium with striated border. Okay, we will see one by one. In simple ciliated columnar epithelium, apical surface has cilia. Okay, it is present in respiratory tract, uterus and uterine tubes, the middle cavity and the auditory tube, and the efferent ductules of testis. It helps in movement of particles like mucus in the respiratory tract, ovum in the uterine tubes and uterus. Okay, so in the columnar epithelium with striated border and brush border, the apical surface is thrown into folds. Okay, the cell membrane is thrown into folds. These folds are called the microvilli. The microvilli increase the surface area for absorption. Okay, in columnar epithelium with striated border, the microvilli are regularly arranged. Okay, it is present in the small intestine. In columnar epithelium with brush border, the microvilli are irregularly arranged and is present in the gallbladder. Okay, so this is the picture showing the section of gallbladder. So you can observe these are the nuclei, oval nuclei, which are present at the basal of the cells. Okay, so each dot, each minute dot what you see here in this picture represents the oval nucleus of the columnar cells. Okay, now here that is the epithelium, that is the whole thickness of the columnar epithelium, and on the surface we can see this, okay, projections from the surface. So these are called as the brush border of the epithelium. Okay, so with this, okay, we are completing the simple epithelium, that is the first classification based on the shape and the layers, okay, combined together. Now coming to the second type based on the shape and layers, okay, is the pseudostratified columnar epithelium. It is a single layered epithelium. All cells rest on the basement membrane. Okay, all cells are resting on the basement membrane, and it has two types of cells. Okay, short cells, which are called as the basal cells. Okay, these do not reach. Okay, you can see it is ending at the middle of the epithelium. They do not reach the surface. And the second group of cells which are taller are called as the tall columnar cells. Okay, they reach the surface. The nuclei, okay, the nuclei in both groups, so there you can see that is the basal cells which do not reach the surface, that's tall cells reaching the surface. And the nuclei in both groups are present at different levels. Hence, it gives the appearance of stratified epithelium because the nuclei are present at different levels. Okay, so that means it is false stratified. Pseudostratified means it is false stratified. It is a single layered epithelium but giving a stratified appearance. Okay, false appearance of stratified epithelium. So this epithelium is further classified into three types depending on the surface modifications. Pseudostratified non-ciliated epithelium, pseudostratified ciliated columnar, and pseudostratified columnar epithelium with stereocilia. In pseudostratified non-ciliated epithelium, the apical surface does not have any modification. It is present in auditory tube, the ductus deferens and male urethra. In pseudostratified ciliated columnar epithelium, the apical surface of cells as cilia, okay, the larger airways of respiratory tract are lined by pseudostratified ciliated columnar epithelium. Since this epithelium is confined, okay, the whole structure what we discussed is same, okay, except that it has the cilia on the surface of the epithelium. So this is the difference, okay, between the non-ciliated and ciliated. Okay, the rest of the structure is same. Okay, so this is confined to respiratory tract. Okay, and because it is seen only in respiratory tract, it is known as respiratory epithelium. Okay, so here this is the picture showing the pseudostratified ciliated columnar epithelium and the cilia there. Okay, the pseudostratified columnar epithelium and the projections on the apical surface, okay, which is called cilia. Now in pseudostratified columnar epithelium with stereocilia, the apical surface of the cells as surface projection of the cell membrane with core of cytoplasm, okay, similar to microvilli, but it is elongated like the cilia. Okay, so this is present in epididymis of the male reproductive system and it helps in absorption. Okay, so coming to the functions of the pseudostratified columnar epithelium. Okay, in the respiratory tract, the functions of the pseudostratified columnar epithelium are secretions of mucus and airway protection. The mucus covers the surface of the epithelium. The foreign particles present in the air get trapped in the mucus, okay, which is present on the surface, okay, which is secreted by the epithelial cells. Now, in other words, the mucus which is secreted by the epithelial cells onto the surface of the epithelium, okay, traps the air particles, okay, whichever enters through the nose or through the mouth. Okay, now as it is trapped in the mucus, okay, the cilia of the epithelial cells, it propels this mucus, okay, trapping the dust particles, okay, towards the oropharynx. Okay, so it is then either coughed out or it is swallowed. Okay, and in male reproductive system, it helps in absorption. So along with the columnar cells in any part of the body, okay, goblet cells are always associated. Okay, so goblet cells are always present along with the columnar cells. Okay, the number may vary. Okay, it might be numerous in some parts, but and in some parts it may be less. Okay, but wherever you see columnar cells, they are associated with the goblet cells. So each goblet cell has broad, okay, apical portion and a small basal portion. Okay, the apical surface represents the microvilli. Okay, it has surface projections. Okay, that is the microvilli. Okay, apical portion is occupied by secretory granules or vesicles filled with mucin. The basal half as the rough endoplasmic reticulum, nucleus and the mitochondria, okay, which are present around the nucleus. The Golgi apparatus is present between the granules and the nucleus. Okay, in the processed sections, what happens? The granules, the mucin granules which are present in the secretory vesicles are washed off, okay, during the processing. So because these granules are washed off, okay, this apical portion of the goblet cells, they stain pale, okay, they take up very light stain, okay, it does not stain intensely, okay. So when we see here in the picture, okay, on the left side, whatever pale staining area you are seeing is nothing but the goblet cells, okay. So each one here is the goblet cell. So you can see numerous goblet cells here in the large intestine, okay. So all these are the goblet cells, okay. So apart from the large intestine, it can be observed in the other parts of digestive system and the respiratory tract, okay, but it is less in the other parts of the digestive system. In the third classification of the shape and number of layers combined together, okay, is the stratified epithelium, okay. So this is the third type of classification based on the shape and number of layers together. We have seen the simple epithelium, then the second classification pseudostratified epithelium, and this is the third type stratified epithelium. It contains two or more layers of cells. Okay, in a stratified epithelium, the shape and height of the cells usually varies from layer to layer. Okay, so when we observe from one layer to another layer, you can see the shape and also the size is varying from the from one layer to the other layer. Okay, so the shape of the cells forming the surface layer here and the number of layers are utilized in categorizing the stratified epithelium. Okay, now here coming to the structure where different types of cells are present. The basal cells are columnar, okay, in shape, okay. It is lined by the columnar cells which rests on the basement membrane, and cells forming intermediate layer are polygonal, and the cells in the superficial layer are squamous cells, okay. So thus in naming an epithelium as stratified squamous, it should consist more than one layer of cells, okay, which is seen here, okay, and the surface layer, okay, the surface layer of the cells should be squamous, okay, to name it as the stratified squamous epithelium. Stratified epithelium is subclassified based on the shape of superficial cells into stratified squamous, stratified cuboidal, stratified columnar, and transitional epithelium. Further, the stratified squamous is divided into the stratified squamous keratinized epithelium and stratified squamous non-keratinized epithelium. In stratified squamous keratinized epithelium, the cells in the deepest layer called basal layer are formed by the columnar or cuboidal cells or the cuboidal layer which rest on the basement membrane. Okay, The cells in the intermediate layer, which is superficial to the basal layer, are polygonal in shape. These polygonal cells, as they reach the superficial layer, it flattens, okay, gradually flattens, and their nuclei become flat, okay. And near the surface of the epithelium, cells lose their nuclei and are filled with the protein called keratin, okay, which makes the surface dry in texture. Okay, so these cells are dead and flat in shape and filled with the keratin. So because they do not have the nuclei, okay, they are not living cells. Okay, they are not living cells. So because they do not have the nuclei, they are called as dead cells. The functions of the stratified squamous keratinized epithelium is it acts as the barrier against infection, provides protection against mechanical injury, and prevents excessive water loss. This type of epithelium is present in the skin. Okay, so here we can see the picture of the section of papillae of the tongue. Okay, so this surface projection with the sharp pointed end, okay, is the filiform papilla. Okay, we have heard three types of projections on the surface of tongue. Okay, the papilla, filiform, fungiform, and the circumvallate papillae, right? So this is the filiform papilla on the surface of the tongue. Okay, so that is the thickness of the filiform papilla, showing the stratified squamous keratinized epithelium. Okay, the keratin layer can be observed on the tips, which is lightly stained. Okay, so that lightly stained area is the keratinized tip. Okay, and the whole thickness, here you can see so many nuclei, right? All this, they form the basal of the cells, okay, of the epithelium. So here you can see the other layers of the epithelium in the skin, in the tongue. So here what is happening, we are not discussing about the rest of the layers of the tongue. We will see that in the session where we discuss the tongue. Okay, coming to the second classification of the stratified epithelium. Okay, this is the non-keratinized stratified squamous epithelium, which is structurally similar to the stratified squamous keratinized epithelium with the three layers, the basal layer resting on basement membrane, okay, the intermediate layer, and the superficial layer, okay, with the same type of cells present as in the keratinized epithelium. The only difference between the two is the thickness. Okay, the thickness is less compared to that of the keratinized epithelium. The thickness is more in keratinized, the thickness is less in the non-keratinized epithelium. And the other difference is there is absence of the surface layer. Okay, there is absence of the surface layer, the keratin layer. Okay, so keratin layer is absent in the stratified squamous non-keratinized epithelium. That is why it is called as non-keratinized, because there is absence of the keratinized layer. Okay, so because all the cells have nuclei, Okay, all the surface cells have nuclei. Okay, because they have nuclei, they are living cells. Okay, they are living cells, and the cells are moist on the surface. Okay, it is not dry as in the non-keratinized epithelium. It is moist. Now, it acts as a barrier and provides protection against mechanical injuries. Then it lines wet surfaces such as oral cavity, esophagus, vagina, and anal canal. Okay, so this is the picture showing the section of esophagus, and here it shows that is the stratified squamous non-keratinized epithelium. Okay, so observe the thickness of the stratified squamous non-keratinized epithelium. Okay, do not bother about the rest of the section. Okay, the other layers here which will be discussed during the session on esophagus. Okay, now coming to the second classification under stratified epithelium. Okay, stratified cuboidal epithelium. It is a two-layered epithelium. Okay, you can see it is two-layered epithelium which is formed by the cuboidal cells. Okay, and this is seen in the ducts of some glands like sweat and salivary glands. Now, stratified columnar epithelium, this also has two layers, okay, formed by the columnar cells, and this is seen in terminal ducts of glands and conjunctiva. Okay, functions of both stratified cuboidal and columnar epithelium provides slightly higher level of protection than the simple epithelium, and they also act as a barrier. Now coming to the last type, that is the transitional epithelium. It is the stratified epithelium with capacity to stretch. Okay, so it can stretch in different conditions. Okay, it lines most of the urinary system. Okay, hence it is called as urothelium. Now basal cells are cuboidal to columnar, resting on the basement membrane. The intermediate cells are polygonal, and the surface cells here are large in size, okay, which are dome shaped or umbrella shaped. Okay, unlike the stratified squamous where the surface cells are flattened. Okay, now here some cells may have two nuclei. It has the ability to stretch. In relaxed state, okay, the thickness is more, okay, in relaxed state. This is the picture, okay, in relaxed state. So the thickness is more, and it has 5 to 6 layers of the cells. And in stretched state, what happens? Okay, the cells, superficial cells which are dome shaped, okay, which are dome shaped or umbrella shaped, which are very large, okay, they flatten, okay, they become flattened, elongated and flattened. Okay, so because of this, what happens? Because the superficial cells becomes flattened, it gives the appearance of 2 to 3 layered thick. Okay, so the thickness reduces, okay, and the epithelium appears to be 2 or 3 layers thick. So in relaxed state, okay, just remember, in relaxed state the superficial cells are larger and they are dome shaped or umbrella shaped. In the stretched state, okay, when the bladder is filled, what happens? The superficial cells becomes thin and flattened. Okay, because of this the thickness reduces and it gives the appearance that it has only 2 or 3 layers thick. Okay, so this change in the shape of the cells allows the epithelium to stretch, and because there is a transition occurring in the epithelium in the different states, okay, it is called as transitional epithelium. Okay, clear? Now coming to the functions, okay, at the surface of the epithelium, okay, the cell membranes are united to one another by the epithelial junctions called desmosomes, which helps in retaining their positions during stretching and relaxing states. In the apical surface of cell membrane, special glycoproteins are embedded, which makes the membrane impervious and resistant to toxic effects of substances present in urine and gives the protection to the underlying layers. Okay, so because of this glycoprotein present on the surface, okay, the underlying cells here are protected. Okay, so that is the section of urinary bladder, okay, showing the transitional epithelium. Now observe the thickness of the transitional epithelium. Okay, so the whole thing is about this is the epithelium. Okay, so the rest of the layers of the urinary bladder will be discussed along with the session of urinary bladder. So with this, we have come to an end of the classification of epithelium, where we discussed classification based on shape, that is the squamous, cuboidal and columnar. Then we classified based on the layers, that is the simple and stratified epithelium. And finally, we discussed the third type of classification based on the combination of shape and the number of layers, okay, that is the simple squamous, simple cuboidal, simple columnar, then the stratified squamous and transitional epithelium. In the next session, I will discuss on epithelial junctions. Okay. If you like the video, hit the like button. If you have not yet subscribed, subscribe to the channel and hit notification button. Join my private Facebook community where like-minded students will support, discuss, encourage and push each other towards reaching the goal. For link, visit the description area. Thank you for watching.